What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mirphh, and today we're going to be talking about early Zetas for your uh, early game, free to play, end game account, whatever. This video is being made from the perspective that you just recently hit max level, like I have, and you're looking at maybe your first, second, third, like your first few Zetas or so while you're in the early game, and this is going to go somewhat based off of our farming priority we've been following with this guide in terms of building towards CLS and then building towards the Jedi Knight Luke and then building towards Jabba, with a little bit of like Ewok C3PO and bounty hunters for Chewbacca and a little bit of like Executor kind of sprinkled all throughout here, right? There's a lot of different farms we're kind of tackling all at once, as well as some other kind of early meta teams like Night Sisters and Imperial Troopers, and so on. And so I just kind of wanted to talk through some of the options that you guys can look at when it comes to your first Zetas. And there's a lot of other information out there. There's other content creators that talk about, top 10 Zetas. That information really hasn't changed in the last like year or so. So there's a million videos out there on this, but I kind of want to take you through the thought process on why these are good Zetas for you. So if you look at this, we're going into, and I know this is 3v3 Grand Arena, but generally, if you build your account towards 5v5 Grand Arena, then you can just separate out characters for 3v3. You'll be fine. But we're going to be looking at this from Grand Arena perspective because we don't really care about putting Zetas on for Squad Arena. We do eventually care about Zetas for territory battles and territory wars, but right now, our job with our accounts in the early end game is to build yourself as efficiently, as strong, and as quickly as possible. The way we do that is by increasing our crystal income through Grand Arena and through the Fleet Arena. Zetas really don't do a whole lot for you in the Fleet Arena. They do matter, but it's not going to make or break your fleet in the sense that if you don't get that last Zeta on your capital ship or on your one crew member, it's going to be the difference between you not placing top 10 in Fleet Arena and placing number one. Like, realistically, it's going to help you beat out a person or two here or there, but it's not going to like change your fleet overnight by putting just one Zeta on it. Whereas in Grand Arena, that can change entire like payouts and placements with just one Zeta early on. And what we're going to look at is I'm going to kind of show you what we're looking at when it comes to the early end game. So this is our upcoming opponent tomorrow, and I don't know why. This person is 2.7 mil galactic power, and they're down here in Carbonite with me. Someone explain this to me. I don't get it. I don't get it personally. But if we go through and kind of look at all of our opponents in this Grand Arena, we'll look at some of the more accurate opponents, what we're going to see. So 1.3 mil, that's about what we can look at. If we look through here, he's got Grandmaster Yoda, Mace Windu, Jedi Knight Anakin. So it looks like he's got a fairly stout Jedi team. He's worked on a little bit of Night Sisters, little bit of Bounty Hunters and other Jedi. This also looks like it is another Hyperdrive bundle account. There's not a whole lot of other characters built up or invested in. It's a very low Emperor Palpatine. So we kind of want to take notes on this, right? So one of the teams that you will oftentimes see early on in Grand Arena at the early end game is going to be this Grandmaster Yoda team, whether it's maybe this is a Mace Windu lead. What does he have Zeta right now? Okay, so yeah, he's got that is lead Zeta. No, that's party's over Zeta, I think, right? Um, Either way, his leads max. I'm gonna assume that he's probably the leader of this team, right? So yeah, a Jedi team. Sometimes you'll see that Grandmaster Yoda team with Bastila Shan, and that's a pain in the ass as far as like early, like being able to answer that in the early game. Take a look at a couple of our other opponents here, kind of see. So we've got, obviously, this team has built up the clones and the Ewoks, it looks like. So we've got Zetas and 5, Zetas and Chief Chirpa. We've got Empire built out a little bit. So let's go ahead and make notes here on, clones. And why you would go for Commander Cody when there's all these other options in the game is odd to me. Maybe they're looking to push for Jedi Master Kenobi early on. I don't know. We got clones. We got Ewoks. All right. Let's look at a couple more of them real quick. Heavy Chevy, what do we got? This dude, 3.9 galactic power, and he's this low in here. That's stupid. That's ridiculous. Relic 6. CG fix Grand Arena, please. Like, this isn't fun. It's just, it's just not. We got Darth Vader, which obviously that is going to be a staple in the early game. It's kind of this solo Darth Vader team. We've got Geonosians as well. And one more person just to kind of show you what we're looking at for comparable teams that really we're looking to counter with these Zetas. All right, it's not going to matter with him. So far on our list, we've got Grandmaster Yoda with Jedi. We've got clones, Ewoks, Darth Vader, Geonosians. This isn't the greatest snapshot of the kind of early game meta because it's a very, very small sample size. But just these characters, for example, Grandmaster Yoda, I have seen all throughout the entire Grand Arena last month with this account. And honestly, I didn't have an answer for it. I do now with Commander Luke Skywalker and the Rebels team, which we are now going to be working on building up Chewbacca and Han Solo in the near future. But without Commander Luke, we really didn't have an answer for Grandmaster Yoda. Because anytime we try to put, Palpatine or Vader against them, the tenacity up, whether it was given by Basilisk Sean Zeta lead or just by Grandmaster Yoda himself, we really could not edge out that team. But I like this list is going to be in no specific order, but these are 10 Zetas that we can really look at to really start rounding out your Grand Arena team early on. The first one's going to be Merciless Massacre, and essentially what this Zeta does is it allows the Merciless Massacre, Merciless Target debuff to go on all the enemy team when you use it. And I'll go ahead and hop into a squad arena battle real quick and kind of show you guys what it looks like. For those of you who aren't aware of this, Darth Vader got a rework a couple years back. I mean, we might not beat this team, but this will be just fine to actually show how this Zeta works. Essentially, what Merciless Massacre does, it turns Darth Vader into a solo character in the early endgame, where instead of you having to run a full Empire / Sith squad like this with Emperor Palpatine and Vader all together on one team, you can basically split them. So you can have Emperor Palpatine and your other Empire and Sith characters on one team, and then Darth Vader on another team, and it just gives you a lot of flexibility. Essentially, instead of having one team with 5 characters, you have 2 teams with 6 characters. And that's great because that means you can also put stronger teams on defense. So we hit Merciless Massacre here. And obviously you can see this Merciless Target debuff is going to be on all of the enemy characters. And we can go through and just start picking characters. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go at this First Order Officers and see he has 4 debuffs on him. This is going to give more turn meter to the rest of the team through the Emperor Palpatine leader Zeta. We're going to go ahead and try to ability block Hux here. Good. Try to ability block Phasma. We're going to go ahead and just get that off of Kylo Ren and Mass. See how much damage we can do to Kylo Ren here. Not great. See if we can get a ability block off here. We did. That's good. We should have a free turn with Palpatine. We can get this turn meter rolling. And we got no stuns. That's fucking terrible RNG. But doesn't really matter if we win or lose this battle. That was just kind of to show you the amount of damage I can go out with a Merciless Massacre. Obviously, this isn't the team I would choose to go up against solo in Grand Arena. I would, with Vader, you want to single out like a Jedi team or a Rebels team. If it's going to be a Jedi team, obviously a team that doesn't really have that tenacity up is going to mess with his ability to land debuffs on them. But this ability is very, very strong early on, especially if you're able to get a Gear 12 plus or a Relic Vader, and you can take advantage of a lot of these like Gear 11, Gear 12 teams you're going to see throughout the early game. There's not going to be a whole lot of Zetas. Contrary to what I literally just showed you in this Grand Arena. I think this is the first time I've seen it. This is only my second Grand Arena with this account. This is the first time I've seen Zetas in my ladder. Now, we're just going to back out of this because it really doesn't matter. Another Zeta that we can talk about real quick is going to be on that same squad we just used, but this is going to be what turns your Emperor Palpatine and Empire squad into a very, very good difference maker. But every time a debuff on an enemy expires, Empire and Sith allies gain 5% turn meter. This is the lead Zeta Emperor of the Galactic Empire for Emperor Palpatine, the legendary character. What this is going to do is essentially going to turn the Empire team under Palpatine into an absolute murder train. Once you start picking up steam, it's not going to stop typically. And that's why you have characters like Palpatine. That's why you have characters like Vader, like characters like you have Grand Moff Tarkin, and eventually Mara Jade. All these characters can inflict massive amounts of debuffs and they'll either naturally expire and give you team turn meter, or you can like dispel them with abilities like Vader's Saber Throw, which will automatically dispel them instantly and give a huge turn meter buff to the rest of your team. It's a great Zeta. Cannot like cannot stress how great it is in the early game. Another one, my personal choice for the third Zeta, just because I haven't used this team on any of my accounts yet, and I was really looking forward to using it, is the first in, last out Zeta on Iden Versio. If no other allies have a leader tag, and all allies are non-droid Imperial troopers, whenever Iden is defeated, she revives with 100% health and protection if there is another active Imperial trooper ally. So essentially, what this does is Iden Versio can't die. It somewhat turns it into like a reverse of the Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron, in the sense that with Qui-Gon Jinn's Omicron, you cannot kill any other Jedi until you kill Qui-Gon Jinn. Conversely, with this, you cannot kill Iden Versio until you kill all the other troopers on her team and then kill her. Meanwhile, she's throwing protection up, she's stunning, AoEing, and just dealing massive amounts of damage. It's been pretty fun to play with so far. Paired up with the rest of the lead, which gives all the counter chance, additional damage, and everything. And I'm looking at her for my first Omicron, but I'm not sure if it's what I'm going to use. But Iden Versio is a fun one so far for me. And Imperial Troopers, from what I've heard, have been great for Galactic Conquest. I have not used them a whole lot in there yet. This is my first time using them, and obviously they're not maxed out or too high up. So the jury's out on that one still. But the next Zeta, obviously I have not invested in them yet. It's going to be the Queen's Will Zeta, and what it's going to do is this Geonosian Brute that the Geonosian Brute Alpha is able to spawn is going to automatically spawn at the beginning of the encounter, which means you already have a taunt up, you already have that character there, so you can immediately start rolling with your Geonosians and not have to worry about being single target stunned or ability blocked or locked down with any of your other characters. They're going to have to either kill or dispel that taunt on the Geonosian Brute before they start targeting anything else, which is also awesome because it somewhat turns the Geonosian Brute Alpha into kind of a plug-and-play character if you haven't built out the rest of your Geonosians or you just don't want to. You can kind of start slotting in your Geonosian Brute Alpha onto different squads that may or may not benefit from having that extra character or the extra tank. And there's not a whole lot else to say about it. I mean, the Geonosian Brute Alpha is great, and it's kind of an absolute necessity when it comes to your dark side territory battles on Geonosis. And the next Zeta that I would like to talk about is going to be your Ahsoka Tano Zeta. If you choose to start building out your Jedi early on in your Galactic Republic, the Daring Padawan Zeta is going to allow Ahsoka to assist anytime a Galactic Republic ally uses a special ability if the ally leader is Galactic Republic. So if you start building out that Qui-Gon Jinn team early on, along with Anakin Skywalker and whoever else, or even if you decide to pursue even like Padme early on and you decide to throw Ahsoka on that team, it's just going to deal a lot of extra damage. And additionally, because it's her basic attack, it's also going to be dispelling buffs every time she goes to assist. So it's just another pain in the ass Zeta to throw on one of these early characters. Another one that we can talk about real quick is going to be, where are we at? Night Sisters. And there's a lot of different Zetas you can put on with the Night Sisters early on. Like, chiefly, you can put on Mother Talzin's Zeta for, where are you at? Here we are. For the every time a Night Sister ally uses a basic ability in their turn, a random defeated Night Sister ally is revived with 50% health and called to assist. And if it kills somebody with that, it's going to effectively, like, actually revive them. That's a great Zeta to put on the team. It really ties the room together. We've got Asajj Ventress here, and you can use her Rampage Zeta here before the actual Omicron, which is also awesome because it's going to turn Asajj into an absolute slaughterhouse killing machine. There's a lot of options, a lot of flexibility with Night Sisters, and especially with Merrin out here now. There's a lot of flexibility and a lot of different Zetas you can put on them early on that are going to be a huge headache for a lot of other teams out here. Now, I did not mean to exit out of that. Rebels, I mean, Commander Luke Skywalker is always a go-to. You can Zeta all of his abilities. They're great. First one I would always recommend is It Binds All Things. Essentially, it basically gets a turn meter train going for himself and his own team based off of resisted debuffs by the enemy team. Han Solo, you can also go with shoots first. That's another highly recommended one people can go with early on. And it basically is just going to increase his damage output by allowing him to basic attack twice every time he attacks, which is going to obviously deal more damage, but also his basic attack has turn meter reduction based off how much turn meter the enemy has. If they have more than X% of turn meter pool, they lose X% turn meter. So there's potential for you to not just decrease your turn meter once, but twice per time you attack. And then the kind of last two that I'm going to touch on real quick are going to be number one, your Bosk lead Zeta. This is going to help you a lot with the Chewbacca event, and it's also going to help you a little bit in the fleet arena if you're running the Houndstooth. But like I said earlier in the video, it's not going to really make or break your fleet team, although it is nice to have the extra padded stats from it. Yeah, this is a huge difference maker in terms of survivability, especially if you're putting your bounty hunters on defense. It's going to help them resist a lot of stuff and eat a lot more damage. And the final Zeta that I will talk about today is going to be, where are we at? That is not the right one. Droids. We're going to go to General Grievous. This is going to take a while for you to farm out as an early endgame player, but if you're buying him out of the fleet arena like I am, you're going to get him eventually, and you're going to want to use him as soon as possible. Regardless of the gear level you can get him to, because it's going to take a long time to farm and max him out, honestly. But the Metalloid Monstrosity is a great Zeta to throw on him first. And whenever a droid or separatist ally is defeated, Grievous dispels all debuffs on himself, resets all ability cooldowns, gains one bonus turn. So essentially, you can just do the spinny boy attack every single time one of your allies dies, and just deal massive amounts of damage. It's a great way to steal banners, as everybody says about it. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. This is not new information. Most of these Zetas are recommended by other people, but I'm telling you right now, you're going to see a lot of Grandmaster Yoda early on, which means you're going to want to look at teams like, I don't know, your Commander Luke Skywalker Rebel team. So maybe, CLS or Han Solo should be early Zetas for you. You're going to see a lot of Darth Vader out there. So you're going to want to, put other characters out there, such as, God, I don't know, like maybe like your Bosk bounty hunters with high tenacity from the lead, or maybe with Geonosians being around a lot, you want to Zeta, your Darth Vader or your Palpatine in order to get some turn meter trains and AoE damage and dots and everything going on them. It's the world is your oyster, and essentially, I guess what I'm trying to say at the end of this video is look at your roster right now. Look at what you're consistently seeing in Grand Arena and build to counter that. There's still foundational Zetas and foundational teams we need to build on in the early free-to-play game, but in order to min-max our payout in the short term, for instance, for me, my best Zeta for my next character is probably going to be on Commander Luke in order to build out that CLS squad while I'm working on it right now, in order to make sure I have that counter available for Grandmaster Yoda in case my opponent has them built up in Grand Arena. If I don't have something that can beat them, I'm going to lose that round, and it's going to kill my reward payout in Grand Arena. And this early on, when you're only killing 3 teams, only putting 3 teams on defense, it should be very easy for you to full clear this, unless you're dealing with 3 teams that are 3 mil GP plus, and you have 1.1 mil GP. Explain that to me. I don't get it. I hate the fucking rework Grand Arena, but whatever, that's just me. That's all I got for today, guys. Thank you for sticking around. If you're enjoying the content, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. Like the video. Drop a comment down below. What Zetas are you putting on your team right now? Like, do you guys have all these Zetas yet? Are you going to go back and put these on them? Are you guys super early? You know what the fuck a Zeta is? Like, I don't know. Let me know. Let's chat. That's enough. Love you. Bye.